Hello and welcome to another discussion of The Great Ordeal. This is the third book in the Aspect Emperor series and the sixth book in the second Apocalypse series by R. Scott Bakker. We are reading approximately 100 pages each week. Today's discussion is going to be for chapters 12 and 13, and next week we're going to be wrapping up the book. So how many ever pages are left or chapters, that's what we'll be talking about next week. With me, of course, I have the usual group of friends. Steve, could you start us off with introductions?
Sure. Steve, it's my second time reading the series. I'm still confused often, especially these last couple of chapters. But yeah, so find us on page 2, and then I'll preemptively plug Carl's book because he never does it. Go read Truth of Crowns. It is a great book if you like tragic, sad, depressing. You like to see the characters that you grow to love do evil, awful things and also get killed and tortured, then Truth of Crowns is for you.
There good things happen too. Some good things, a lot of bad things. A lot of bad things, definitely. I think there are some likable characters in there, but definitely a lot of unfortunate things done by and done to and these characters. But anyway,
Unfortunate is
I'm
an
Carl.
understatement, but yes.
Yes. Yeah, the ending in particular is rough. Yeah, I'm Carl, first-time reader, and I just have to say that I am continuously impressed, Farsha, that you managed to keep saying it. At this point, with your how you open, we're on book 6 or whatever, you could just be making stuff up. Like I think we're at the point, we're deep enough in at this point that we're on book 3.1415, chapter 42 of we're deep in.
Nice.
The slog of slogs I think we all deserve a little bit of insanity at this point.
The dollar has hit.
Yes, exactly.
And Dan.
And I'm Dan, multiple time reader of this series, and excited to talk about these chapters because we're getting to the good shit. I guess not the good. It's all good. I guess this is the gooder shit. I don't know, more crazy stuff.
That's cool to hear. Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, I definitely really felt like there were some really exciting things in these chapters, but that is awesome to hear. I mean, do we want to... I'm just going to start off by just saying I straight up did not expect the tall.
Yeah.
That I forget if they have even used that term before this chapter, or if there was any sort of strong foreshadowing for that. But I did not, because I was just like, oh yeah, these are fucked up elves, and then oh no, now they're giant. What? So that was pretty wild, and it does make me wonder why they shrank. Like, why are there, the older ones seemingly are giant, and the younger ones are tall people?
Maybe it's when they grow older, they sort of become taller, and since they can't die, I think it's something to do with that.
They just keep growing.
I think it got something to do with that. Yeah. But I can't remember precisely. That's cool. Very cool as hell.
Is there... Wait, so there is an explanation?
I don't remember.
Okay.
So this is what... I thought I read that... Well, I thought they were sort of they just aged continuously, sort of. And some, the heroes, were very long-lived and became tall, but I don't remember precisely. Because, I mean, even, the boatman was mentioned, though, as being, very old, even when he became immortal, right? But he's not Vitol, I guess.
Yes.
Maybe he's not as epic as the other ones.
Yeah, that's a good point, right? Because I think he's supposed to be the oldest yet living. And he... Very cool. I love our crazy Charon character. Very Greek myth.
And
I dug it.
I don't know, Vitol, and this whole scene with... him killing his son in the darkness. In my mind, I see the, what's it called? The Goya painting of, was it Saturn eating his son? We know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's the famous one where it's very, I don't know, not abstract, but dark background and just this haunting figure,
it's
a ghoul eating a smaller human person, right? It's very, I don't know, it kind of reminds me of that. Very creepy.
Yeah. I know that's a great point. It has that exact same feeling. I actually had to read that section. I forget if it was 2 or 3 times because it was so abrupt that I was sure I was like misunderstanding what was happening.
Yeah.
But he just kills him and then it's just done. Like they just you just have to move on, and it was crazy. All really just ate it. It was tough. I was sad, honestly. I was a fan.
I can't tell you how many, because I listened to chapter 12 and then I had to come back and read it because I still didn't get a lot of it because I kept re-listening to it. But anyway, I wanted to try have a bone to pick with you because I cannot hear his name now without thinking Oral Anal, thanks to you.
Yes.
Every time.
I'm so glad I can corrupt people. This is good. I listen now. I'm just spreading my own curse. Where I saw that literally the first time, and my wastrel, corrupted brain just immediately went there, and I just have never unseen it. So happy to help out. If anyone's curious what we're talking about, just reference the last episode. I feel like we should avoid descending into the pits again, even though, ironically, we are in the Ishtarabinth pit.
It is interesting, though, how, like, for example, for me, it didn't do anything because I don't sound the names in my head when I read them. I just, like, visually observe them.
Oh,
so a lot of times, until I actually try to pronounce them, I'm like, I don't know what it's going to sound like. And when I tried to pronounce it, I'm like, wait a second, I didn't think it sounded like that.
So do you not have like a voice in your head as you're reading?
Oh, not when I'm reading. Yeah.
I love different ways where, like, I forget what is it called? Aphantasia, when you don't like picture things?
Yeah, I don't know if it's like different.
This is different. What you're describing is different, but I just think it's so interesting the variety of ways people.
I think Varsha was also nodding, saying she doesn't sound the words or the names.
I always have trouble remembering names afterwards. A lot of that is my bad memory, but quite a lot of it also has to do with the fact that I don't actually try to say it. I just like scan. I'm like, oh, that guy, which is also, I think, maybe this is why I also have troubles with names starting with the same letter, because I think it's one person and then I'm like, oh yeah, it's that guy, and then I read and then I'm like, that doesn't sound like him. And then I have to go back and it's actually a different person.
That's got to be really tough in this series where there's so many names that read so similarly. I mean, we have Sorwheel and Surwa in short proximity. Alone is tough, and then we have to consider Sirway. We have the different Kalmomises.
You shouldn't read the Lord of the Rings, man, because you're gonna get very confused.
I have read Lord of the Rings.
Everybody has the same name.
Yeah, I don't know how I got through it. Maybe it wasn't.
I mean, I feel like the worst thing in Lord of the Rings is Sauron and Saruman, which is criminal on Tolkien's part. I don't know how he felt like that was
I'm sure
That
they
is not
both derive from the same root in Elvish meaning something, I'm sure.
100%. But like, come on, man. Like, give them just like different, like, find a way. He created a whole language. He can differentiate their names.
And even the Rohirrim, right? Like Theoden, Theodred, Theo, whatever. There's a lot of very similar names there.
Oh God, yeah.
Yes.
Speaking of Lord of the Rings, I was so lost with chapter 12. I actually went back and listened to the episode I did with Daniel and Katerina, and Daniel mentioned something that I completely forgot, but he said something that I forgot. I didn't think of, which is that Surwa and her singing reminded him of Tom Bombadil. Bombadil.
I mean,
so might be another callback.
It reminds me kind of like the way the non-men treat singing reminds me a lot of Lord of the Rings. the way it's singing, and the way
Definitely.
it's like interspersed, like the ballads from the boatmen, it is very similar.
I don't even think it's just the non-men.
Yeah.
I feel that Baker includes a similar reverence for song as Tolkien does. We have multiple instances where, whether it's the Great Ordeal
Mm.
or the Enrithi Crusaders, like sing while they're fighting, and they like get really hyped by singing a song, which is not like even unrealistic. There absolutely are like battle songs, that different cultures have sung to for that reason, to keep morale up, to like inspire the troops. And many cultures have their own like on battlefield like bards that would like play drums and like belt out songs to like get everyone going.
Um, I have my Lord of the Rings like completely scrambled in my head. I barely remember anything from what I read 10 years ago. But the fact that the Ishtarabinth people have sold themselves over to Golgotharoth, is that like the bit in, is it Gondor, where the Mad King is basically like on the side of the dark at that point?
Not really. I mean, he's still trying to do the right thing for Gondor. He's not evil. He's just despairing, I guess. Right? He's insane and despairing, but he's not evil.
But are the non-men evil though? The ones who
Yeah,
have
yeah.
gone over?
Pretty evil.
I mean, isn't it like more? It's
No,
the
they just like
non-men.
baking.
No, the non-men though, like, aren't they just like trying to do anything to feel something, and that's why they're doing bad shit? Like, it's not.
I mean,
I think that's part of it, but I my reading of it was that it is despair, that they're like, we can't win and we don't want to go to hell, so let's join the side that's trying to stop us from
yeah,
going to
but kind
hell.
of, I don't know, wearing a necklace of scalps and drenching yourself in fat rendered from melted humans might be a bit, like a bit evil. Just like the Inchoroi, it's like, okay, I understand all the damnation stuff, but I don't know about if you need to do all the rape stuff too. Like, it makes you a bit evil.
Yeah, they really cross the line.
Oh,
I'm okay with genocide, but I draw the line at
Well,
the
I mean,
rape
if they're
stuff.
only trying to save themselves and they're not trying to be evil, then I'm like, okay, well, you need to kill a bunch of people, fair enough. But like the suffering on top of it, it seems kind of gratuitous. You know what I mean? So,
I really wonder how I think you guys talked about this in one of the chats where I was not here. How did they calculate the 144,000? Like, it's so specific. Obviously, we know, like, on a meta level where that number comes from, as you guys discussed, right? Where Baker's pulling, it has, like, religious significance. But,
yeah.
like, in universe, this is not important. This isn't something, like, I'm not, like, critiquing the series about this. But I'm just curious, like, a part of me wonders about these things. Like, how did the Inchoroi figure out that that was the number they needed to separate themselves from the
I read a
outside?
theory,
Like,
but we should discuss it when we're done.
okay, fair enough. Yeah.
But I think there might be a justification for that. But,
Oh,
just I don't know. Some stuff is gonna be like, just like I don't know if it was the last time or 2 times ago. We were discussing the whole thing about, he takes Sarwheel to protect himself because he's protected by the goddess, so it's sort of like a fail, the way he's saving himself. And we're saying, that kind of doesn't make sense, right? And then this chapter, it's explained exactly why he did it, and then now everything makes sense, right? So some stuff is gonna be a bit like that, I feel.
I'm also now wondering, are the gods like the gods all throughout the universe or the galaxy? Like, however the cosmos works in this
Mm.
universe. Like, there are clearly other life forms out there. So, unless I've misunderstood how the Inchoroi work, so did they like, are the gods the same gods everywhere, or is this strictly whatever this planet is called, this version of Earth, are they the gods of this planet in some way tied to this planet?
Oh.
That was something that just occurred to me as we were talking.
We will get
I
some
don't know if
information
that
on
matters.
that. Somewhat.
Interesting.
So, no worries.
So on that subject, the paragraph in which we are told how the Inchoroi came to the world, it started with first the nail of heaven came, it rose in the sky, and then 3 years later the Inchoroi came, and then what? And then somebody said this isn't new. They didn't just come. Like it's the follow-up of something that happened a long time ago, and they are falling at the speed of the apple. I guess referencing gravity.
I'm sorry. Is this new information that we got? Or is this way back when we first heard about the Inchoroi coming from the stars?
I think we read, like we knew that they were from, like they weren't from this planet. What was new or newish in this section? 3 things, I think. One, what's up with that, with mentioning the nail of heaven first, and then the Inchoroi? Like, what does that have to do with the Inchoroi coming?
That's awesome.
And then the second thing was the thing about the apple. They came at the same speed of the apple. Like that almost sounds like the tone of that resembled how you talk about light, right? Like light from the stars. You're like, oh, that's a supernova that happened how many ever millions of years ago, but we're seeing the light now. And so it felt a bit like that sentence construction, like it happened. This is the repercussion of events that happened a long time ago, and it's falling at the speed of an apple. Like, whatever the hell that is, the apple comparison, I think that's referencing gravity for whatever reason, and I don't know what that has to do with the cosmology of the world. And then finally, like, I guess it's what killed the dinosaurs of this world, that arc. It was big, and it caused, like, climate change level collisions.
And I think it mentions also that, like, the impact happened before the arc actually got there. I think they say something like happened. I don't know if it was ours, but it happened before. Like there was an interval. I don't know if that means because it was so far, so they saw it before hearing the impact. Maybe that's what he was saying. But it's specifically mentioned that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that apple thing was. Let me try and find the paragraph, but Carl, go. Sorry.
I mean, the apple as a metaphor to me is clearly like a biblical allusion to the apple, you know, the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil that Eve eats, and then Adam. But, I mean, right, because the Inchoroi kind of play the role of the serpent in this story. And they are associated with knowledge, you know, like technological knowledge, knowledge of the outside, you know, all of knowledge of these other powers, you know. All that said, I am very intrigued. I somehow missed I guess I just like read over it, the nail of heaven bit, because the fact that it appeared to me implies that it is not just like a normal star. Like that implies it's like a satellite or something in space, you know? Something that has risen up or been created.
The other planets or something. I don't know.
Right. Well, yeah, I remember someone theorized the wormhole thing.
So there was a discussion with Philip Chase, Joanna, and that group in which Jimmy Nuts mentioned that the nail of heaven is a wormhole, and then we couldn't find anything in the appendix to corroborate that. But I wonder if this is what he was giving away at the time.
Is it? I mean, it's interesting because when I think of wormholes, I don't necessarily think of them as shining like a star, but maybe this is.
It could.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the physical structure of that would look like. Would it be too far to say they might have the same aspects of like a black hole? Maybe, I don't know. Is that a thing?
Does it cut through the outside? Is that like how it works? in this universe?
Yeah.
I'm very
So what
curious.
it actually says, I found the
No.
passage. It says, can I go to the previous page, please, Mr. Book? Okay. Nin Chun Jin astrologers had spied Imberil, the star that the man called the Nail of Heaven, long before it waxed, but they had no forewarning of a calamity to come 3 years following. And then it says, those who witness and survive the event claim that the cataclysmic impact of the ark somehow preceded the ark, and that the golden vessel dropped no quicker than an apple into the flash, and the upheaval of an earlier, far more tumultuous strike. So maybe it's some sort of like laser beam that hit it, and then it materialized inside there or something, some sort of, I don't know.
What page is this?
I can't tell you. I don't know.
Okay, so you just looked this up on the internet or something?
On my Caliber, I just search for the terms. That's what I do to find, otherwise it take too long. But yeah, maybe. Sorry, go ahead, Steve.
No, I'm sorry. Was I imagining this, or did somebody theorize in the book that the dragons came through the nail, or did somebody? I'm not sure if somebody said that somewhere or if I read that, but I think somebody said something about the dragons the Raku came through the Nail of Heaven.
Yeah,
because it's like the North Star in this world, right? It's what.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't remember the dragon bit, but there is this fact that Inri Sejanis, was that him? Apparently ascended to the Nail of Heaven.
Yeah, that's right.
In
maybe
the
he
appendix.
took a spaceship and he went to a different world.
Yeah. and while you're on the subject of things that connect to the outside, apparently whatever salvation means for the non-men, I don't know if it's salvation or just like afterlife, I guess. Afterlife, let's call it that. Is to escape the outside and go past it to wherever it's leading.
That was such a cool part, like the discussion of like, I guess the sort of religion of the non-man. Could you call that a religion? Philosophy? Because they say like, oh yeah, you don't want to be noticed by the gods. You want to just bypass them. You want to go into oblivion, I guess. And all these people are like, well, they're not killing themselves because they're just gonna have eternal torment with the gods. It's
yeah, some god will snap.
It's like so depressing, that whole part, right?
It is depressing. Yeah.
Like, can you imagine being in that situation? It's like, what are you gonna do? Like, there's nothing, right? Yeah, I think he says it. Sorwell says it itself. Like, can you imagine like this being like the merciful fate for these people? The more merciful fate, yeah. Fucked up.
That is, yeah, that's unbelievably bleak. I don't know what I would feel like, how if I was in this universe and like aware of how things kind of worked cosmologically, I don't know what I would want, you know? I mean, certainly I think oblivion is the best option of everything, but like you can't guarantee that. Like there's no way. It's a crapshoot. How do you, I mean, I guess, you know, your best shot is to live a really boring life, you know? Like just somehow avoid everything, become a hermit.
Maybe you need to like ascend or like Buddhist ascension or something. Maybe that helps you, you know. No worldly thoughts or something. I don't know.
Bakker really doesn't pull back. Like even it's crazy. You think of how like I feel like even in other like grimdark stories where the world itself is terrible, there's at least rarely I feel like an implication that the afterlife is real, and two, the odds are you're going to hell, you know. And it's just it's tough. It is.
There's always the implication that, you know, if you're a bad person, you're going to hell. If you're a good person, you're right.
Right.
And to be honest, there's not many fantasy books which deal with like damnation and salvation in a real sense, more than like the afterlife is just like another plane or something, you know, with not really any consequences, to be honest.
So, question for the multiple time readers is the ingressus, is that like just the like an opening to the surface at the top? Because it's like described as like this little like it's like a little wink of light, but it's so far in the distance. So that's like how I read it, but I wasn't sure if I was interpreting that correctly, where it's just like it's so far in the distance it's hardly even there. It's like a star.
Yeah. Pretty sure that's right.
Okay, cool.
And I think we talked last week about the other boat that wasn't really on water. So the boatman isn't really a boatman, right? Because the clocks are, I would imagine, chains, and we're dropping down into the depths of the steerbent. So we're not really on water, but it's so black, and it's like oblivion that it's like there's like nothingness below them, but they're descending, right? And that's where they see all the piles of swine and bones and bodies and the statues that are alive, the eyeless statues.
I guess it does become a boat at the end, right? When it reaches the end, the water it unhooks itself, and then it's briefly a boat, right? But yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, doesn't it work sort of like it's almost like it's kind of on tracks, like it's like attached by a chain, right? And it like just drops down like an elevator and then like moves along.
Yeah. Something like
right?
that.
Mm. It's kind of hard to understand a lot of it because it doesn't explicitly say things. It's Bakker can be very vague with things, and you kind of just have to put it together. And I'm not smart enough to do that all the time. So,
I mean, I don't even think necessarily like it's not like a test of intelligence always, because some of his metaphors are very obtuse. I feel like he is very good at writing very evocative prose, but sometimes it is hard to understand what is actually happening, right? Like he very rarely is very like straightforward about what's happening. He likes to speak through metaphor and simile, and not even simile. It's like all metaphor. Like everything is spoken of not as itself, but as something else. And it is very colorful. It's very poetic, but it makes it hard to track sometimes, particularly when we're dealing with like magic or technologies that are unusual in any way.
Tend to describe like the thing that, like the action that does the thing, and then the result of the thing, not the actual action happening. Just like when he kills his son, he's saying, oh, like the fist pummeling, and then then he doesn't say he killed him, but after he says, oh, that he did something that could not be, like the result of action. He doesn't describe the actual action. He describes what comes before and what comes after.
Right.
Right.
It's interesting. It definitely makes it so you have to pay attention, right? And even then, you will miss things.
Yeah.
What?
On that topic, I had no idea what the hell the Great Ordeal found at the end. I mean, I'm jumping ahead, but like the thing that you referenced, Varsha, on the forum, that I was truly at a loss. I could not. I kept trying to picture it, and I was like, I don't know what this is.
I mean,
it seems like technology, but I could not begin to pick. It was like the non-man throne or whatever it was. I think it was the throne that was like described in such a way that I was like, I don't know what.
I think
what
we can say it,
with here,
Steve, right? It's like it's described there. I guess he doesn't realize it, but it's described pretty clearly, isn't it?
I don't know.
Hold on, one second. Before you guys go revealing things. Hold on.
What do you think
like
it is,
box?
Varsha?
I thought it was a box. Is it not a box, or is it a chest? It was a box.
It's called a coffer, right? So it's like that makes me think it's like a treasure chest, right?
Yes,
like
right? Yeah.
a box of some sort. Is it a coffin?
Isn't that what
like,
it
why
came
wouldn't
in?
you just call it a coffin if it's a coffin?
Oh shit! Is it the sarcophagus of the thing?
That's what I'm wondering now that Dan is making a big deal out of it. What is this thing?
And but it says, apparently the writing says not everyone can
Well,
be saved
that's
or
what
something
Kella says.
mean like that.
Yeah, that is what Kellis says.
How do I say? I mean, should I read what it does, and maybe you guys?
Yes.
Read what it
I can
does.
just
Is
read
that
the
yeah.
text, the
something that
last
we've seen?
paragraph. It's
Okay,
Oh,
do
and
We
it.
then-
saw what
yeah,
it
the last
does.
paragraph of the chapter.
Because to me,
yeah,
it was
it's in this
just like,
chapter.
this is the closest I could get to understanding what was being described was this is a box with glowing letters
Well,
around it, and it was something
Yeah.
of
so
the
it
technique.
says, yeah,
And
it
that
is
was
a technique,
as
yeah,
much as I
for
got.
sure. It says, a flash of light, so bright, so blinding, that it seems nothing more than a peripheral flicker. Air sucked to dizzying altitudes, ear shut to all sounds, radiating concussion, blowing winds in their thousand from crest and summit. Vast, luminous, and golden, lancing across emptiness, painting the back of erupting earth, a pillar of particulate and ejecta, a mountain flying upwards and out. Plumes like octopus arms, blackened to brilliance, surging into heaven's vacant arch. The cooling tendrils bowed outwards, fanning, descending, while an inferno scaled the obscured heights within. If you know what it is, it's...
I mean, that again, that is very evocative, but that is impossible to picture. There is no way to imagine. I'm sorry. Like,
Okay.
one out of a million people will read that the first time and understand what the hell is being described. And that one out of a million is Bakker and all his buddies who he told.
I actually didn't catch this the first time I read it, or the second time, but thankfully, and Katerina caught it the first time. But I think the keywords are the blinding light, the wind, just imagine these octopus arms,
Pillar.
the mountain going up and out. So it's like, boom.
I'm still lost. Octopus arms. What am I?
Yeah,
I'm
when did
trying to
we-
think.
Just
What
imagine like
technology
smoke,
has octopus arms?
like smoke, or like
Big cloud. Up
clouds
and then-
coming out of the mountain.
What, it's like an engine?
I think we should just tell them. I mean, it's pretty obvious. I don't...
Is it obvious?
So the blinding light, the wind, right? So it's like this gust of wind or like force. It's the smoke or like tendrils coming out, and the mountain goes up and out. So imagine yourself outside of a Starbanth, looking at it and seeing the mountain going up and out, and tendrils coming out, and a gust of wind hitting you. Blinding light.
Yeah. Then fields of screaming, men in shrunk, raising blistered faces, melted eyes, shaking skin from their arm. Yeah. If you...
Any idea, Varka?
I mean, the only bar of light I know is the Heron Spear, but they wouldn't be trying to tell us like
I think
this
I can tell them. I think
if
I
it
can tell
is.
them.
It's hard to imagine because I think it's
Yeah,
the last
that's
thing you would
why.
expect in a fantasy. It's you
I'm
just
just
wouldn't
gonna-
expect it.
I'm really hung up on the tentacles. I'm
It's
not.
like smoke.
Are these,
Just like imagine like pillars,
Like
pillars
projectile,
of
like a
smoke
volcano, you know,
coming out
when
of the
there's
mountain.
like the projectiles going in every
Yeah.
direction.
okay, so there aren't
No, no,
actual
no.
tentacles here.
No, it's like smoke.
This is a metaphor.
Or
This is
dust.
what. Okay.
It's... I'm just gonna say... It...
Gimme.
What do you say, Marsha?
I said, gimme
it's a
answer.
nuke. It's a nuke. It's a nuke. The pillar, the light, the concussion, and then the mushroom cloud, and then everyone, like, their arm, like, their face is melting. And then the description, like, the well of Beery, it's like a silo, right? And then he gets, like, this Coffer.
They set
Yeah,
off
it's a
the
nuke.
It's a bomb.
Like the mushroom cloud.
Yeah.
Is that what you guys were talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Interesting.
didn't catch it either. It was explained to me too. So
Wait, so that's what killed
Well-
Saubon? I was wondering what the fuck was going on.
It's ambiguous.
I thought
So,
Kellis.
we don't know if it's a nuke or a strong killing him, I guess, right?
yeah, I think it's
It
like a
seems
combination.
like it's an explosion because he's like there's
Yeah.
a sudden thing like you
Yeah,
can't
yeah, I
describe
think
it. Like it's all light and sound.
I guess it makes sense because the character would, like Saubon wouldn't say, "Oh shit, a bomb just
Yeah,
went
true,
off," because he doesn't know what
Right.
a bomb is. You know.
But yeah, you see, like, if you know what it is, it makes, like, the description makes sense. I guess if you're not, like, I remember too, like, you don't think about it. Like, it's so far from what you're thinking, right?
And so it's after the. Wait, okay, I'm trying to remember where this happens in the chapter too.
The
So
end.
this is
So
Literally
yeah,
the last part.
this at the this is
very
the
end.
very end. So he found another bomb after
No,
the
this
one
is
went off.
this is the bomb that
Kellis?
went off at the end of a chapter. I guess the Saubon part comes slightly before. Like, they're all at the same time, but one is written after.
What the hell is the writing? The glowing writing?
I think it's like, it's kind of like, I don't know if you imagine like an alien artifact with like big circuits and stuff like that from the top, like with glowing lights and buttons and stuff like that. Because obviously they don't know what it is, so they're just describing it with their limited. So I think it's like circuits, because they describe like this intricate, like I don't know, engravings upon all of it. I think it's like circuits and stuff like that.
So Kellis at the very end sets the bomb
And
off.
he even says before, like, oh, Kellis is very careful putting it, with handling it, right?
So, like, are we supposed to read that as an accident?
No. I think
what?
I think it's almost like a sacrifice, because not everyone can be saved.
And he says, well, yeah.
So he found this bomb.
Well, he knew it was there, I guess.
He picked it up.
The plan was to use it, I think.
Okay. And he decided, I'm going to nuke my army, or at least part of my army, to kill the Srank.
Seems like it.
Also, what the fuck happened to Arang in the fight?
Oh yeah.
He has this amazing entrance, and then I don't remember him doing anything the entire fight.
I don't think it's finished yet, right? They're still. Well, I guess the nuke happened during the fight, so that probably.
It's basically chaos.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Which is hard to read.
Yeah.
It's hard to put together. I wouldn't have caught it either.
I do love the line where it says, right, like, not everyone can be saved, and that's a good thing. It's like so chilling, right?
Flee.
That is that's tough.
Yeah.
Not a thing you want to hear from anyone, let alone your prophet Messiah.
It's yeah. I mean, should we finish talking about Starblinth and then go this one, or I don't know? Should we do this one? Go.
I don't know. Do you want to finish talking about this topic we've started, or is there more?
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know. Oh, mainly because I wanted to ask about Saubon and his identity crisis. Do we want to talk about that now?
Yeah, that's what I say. Like, there's a long discussion talking about Saubon, right?
Yeah.
And his vision and what happened, and like.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, let's come back here, I guess. We can do Ishtarabint. I had a question. What the heck was that clacking noise? What was it? And did it drive everyone else mad like it did me, like a dripping tap does?
Yes. I kept waiting for the payoff there, or for me to understand what the fuck was going on, and I did not understand what the clack was.
So I think the clack is, okay, so they're on this, like, the way I picture it is they're on this platform descending. The boatmen, they're not really on water yet until the end. So they're like on a platform with these giant, well, I just imagine giant chains, or at least big chains, and they're descending down. And the clacking is the chain just kind of dropping them down, like it's turning, and the clack, clack, clack as they're descending lower and lower.
Interesting. That is nice. I thought the effect was great because, like I said, it drove me crazy. So it put me in the state of mind that maybe Sorvi is going through. But, yeah.
I was very glad to see that he got an appropriately epic ending to his storyline in this book after what I felt like were two previous endings that were anti-climaxes. Like, this was epic. I mean, just unreal. And what's his name, the tall, showing up at the end, and you know, just, it happened so quickly. He's just like, you know, screw you, you know, you betrayed us, bye. And it's just awesome. It was great and dramatic and horrible and tragic, and Swordwheel was just along for the ride.
Like, it's so cool, like the realization, like he realizes it's like, oh, that's why he brought me here. That's why, and then him, it's like, oh, I'm stuck here, like the gods can't see me, but now we see that, like, he's destined to be somewhere to do something else, right? Because he's a white like warrior. So he was the only one that he could guarantee that would be able to get the message across, right? So yeah.
Right. I'm so curious about where his story goes from here, because he seems pretty like Winterall worked his traps on him, and he like seems pretty much like done with Yatwar and the gods at the end of this.
But the gods know that he's gonna kill Kelvis, right? They must.
Right, exactly. I'm curious. I don't know. This doesn't seem like the type of story that's like, oh yeah, you actually have free will after all. So, I think, I don't know, maybe he'll be possessed or something. Like, I mean, he has been. He straight up has been possessed, so I guess he just kind of is stuck.
Yeah. There was another interesting part, which I'm not sure, did we know about it already? Like, because Ordeal explains to him about how the Inchoroi went to the men in Eanna and pretty much gave them the tusk and told them to kill the non-men. Did we know about it before or no? No.
No, I think so.
You guys caught it, right?
No, I didn't.
He literally I guess it's like, it's not super obvious, but it's kind of pretty much that's what he says. He says that because they couldn't kill the non-men, so the Inchoroi and the non-men were too proud to, the humans were like slaves, right? They're not going to talk to the humans. So he said, oh, that was our fault. We were too prideful. We didn't consider the humans, but the Inchoroi went to the humans in the Anna and, gave them the prophecy, told them to come here. I think they said they gave them the Kori, right? So they could fight the non-men. And then it's kind of implied that they gave them the task and they told them, because in the task it's written to kill the non-men. So it's kind of implied that the Inchoroi did that.
Right. I did catch that they gave them the faith. I mean, they're the reason they went over, right? So they were responsible for, not in Rithism, but the original tusk.
So then it's kind of like the pride of an non-man was their undoing in a sense, right?
Which now makes me wonder, is it not a dragon horn, but just like a weird piece of technology?
Who knows?
Is that the original tusk that they have in Suma? Or is that a replica?
It's the ship's computer.
Should be the original in theory, but we don't know for sure.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's what I'm saying. Everything. I mean, this chapter was full of crazy stuff happening.
Yeah, and we got a lot of history too about Viri and the non-men, right? There was a lot of lore.
Yeah.
A lot of swine. So that's a lot of pigs. So where do these pigs come from?
I was wondering about that too. I was like, where we have not seen the pigs until now. Where are all these pigs?
Mwama. Maybe the pigs are the Mwama. No, I don't think so.
That would make more sense, to be honest. I mean, because they got to feed all those Mwama too. What do the Mwama eat?
Fields, and they have, I assume. I don't know.
They're in a
mountain. No, the Mwama are outside, right? Because at the beginning, when they go to the mountain, like the Mwama are outside, going inside the mountain, right? Bringing all the stuff for the non-men.
Are they at like the base of the mountain? For some reason, I thought they were like up in the mountain too, like maybe like kind of outside, but like not where they're like I don't know where the farms are. You know what I'm saying? Like where I don't remember if those were described or not, but I don't remember it.
I picture them outside the mountain, but I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, they got to be, right? Like there's got to be something there.
Yeah. Well, we haven't seen them eat vegetables, I guess. It could only be pigs, maybe.
They really, they've really been breeding the crap out of those pigs, though. I mean, I guess they know how to do it, right? Like, they do the same thing to the Mwama, so why not? I do almost feel like it would be more efficient for them to, honestly, to just, like, feed the Mwama, or, like, you know, sacrifice the Mwama,
I mean, that's
just toss
not
down the
very
Mwama and be like, eat.
It's
I don't know.
yeah,
They're
but it
pretty
takes
docile,
how long does it take
you
for a
know?
Mwama to grow to a size in which it's and how much energy, right? Like corn and vegetables, stuff like that is so much more efficient than meat, right?
Listen, well, yes, but that's not what they're
I
feeding
guess
all of these erratics in
I don't know why they
the
do that.
pit. They're
Just give them
tossing them
oatmeal or
pigs.
something. I don't like it's
Yeah, yeah, right. They don't care.
yeah.
Like, you know, give them something crappy.
It seems so
That'll
much
make them
more
feel
work,
better. You know, that's what
right?
they're
Because the
looking for.
pig, like eating a
Yeah.
raw pig, like how much work is that compared to just I don't know grains or something? I don't know. Ah, I mean, it's more fucked up, I guess, than like a wall of pig skulls than a wall of like grain seeds or something. I don't know.
Oh, definitely. But Baker, we need to know, how does this work? Explain. I need to know the pig economy of Ishtarabend. What do they do in times of famine? What
Yeah.
happens if a disease spreads? Do the erratics just starve?
Oh,
What happens?
apparently the erratics don't fall sick. Like the guy who can't die because there's no disease, but he ages.
I mean, why do they need to eat then, right?
Who was
If they can't die.
good question.
Right.
Good
Just
question.
let them. They're already suffering. Like, just let them hang out.
Yeah.
You know.
I thought all the mad people in the base of the mountain were not eating, but apparently, oh god, I don't visualize, but all the gross stuff apparently my brain wants to picture properly, and there was so much in these two chapters.
True. Maybe just they told because they're cool, or they need to be strong or something. I don't know. Or they're like important. Maybe everyone else doesn't eat really.
Yeah, I think. I mean, to me, it makes sense why they do it. It's like logically stupid, but like, you know, you understand the emotional reality of like their sense of honor and culture is like they need to preserve these great people, even though they are dangers to themselves and everyone else.
Yeah, insane.
It's like taking care of your, you know, like a nursing home almost, like the most fucked up nursing home in the world.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is. That's what a Sterbint is. Most fucked up nursing home in the world.
Yeah. It also has, to me, just like really exploring the erratics and the lore has made me wonder more about the no god. You know, I was increasingly feeling like it was just some force from I don't know, outside the outside or the outside, like I don't know. But you know, part of me does wonder if it is in some way, I'm not saying it's a non-man, but that, you know, we know it's summoned with the Techne, seemingly. So is it something that has been, I mean, maybe even a god in some way that's been like corrupted by the Techne in the same way the non-men have, and that's why it's senile?
Possibly.
It's just one of the things I was pondering as we were reading this.
Yeah. I don't think you're supposed to know at all.
No, certainly not, right? That's definitely a mystery. I mean, yeah. I'm not convinced that we're even going to get answers about the no god in this series, but we'll see.
Yeah. I guess talking about also other disgusting things, like the part where it was described when someone was pushing down the non-men onto the barge, and they were just splattering onto the barge. That was also fucked up.
Oh, yeah, that was
the
horrible.
description was so, oh god.
The violet everywhere.
Literally death coming swirling down. Literally.
He really loves that phrase.
He does.
I know it's intentional. It's his like poetic.
You're saying that
Wait.
like we're going to see a
No,
lot more of
no.
it, Dan.
Never again. It's like, I think it's a meme at this point, and he's sort of leaning into it too. Like, I can't imagine he's not aware of it.
Yeah, it felt like aware, because in the third book of the previous series, he did it a lot, and it felt intentional. This almost felt like a, hey, here's a callback to something I used to do.
What are the odds he like looks up people's reactions to his
Very high.
series? Like, I know Steven Erikson does that, you know, like he engages very openly with the Malazan fan base. And so I wonder, and actually George R. R. Martin recently made a blog post that made it clear that he definitely reads stuff, if only through his minions, as he describes them. But I imagine he looks himself up as well. You know, I think that's pretty human and normal, right? And as an artist, you want to see the reaction to your material.
I don't know about now, but
And so,
he
yeah, I
used
wonder-
to have like a very active blog, right, which he responded to whatever people are saying and and there was a lot of discussion, right? In
that's what I mean.
What was it? The Song of Ice and Fire subreddit? That was the main, I think, place of discussion at the beginning. I think it was something like
Really?
that, right?
Really, wow.
Do you remember, Steve?
It was probably, I mean, if it was back, I would imagine it was on Reddit. I feel like it was probably one of the forums, right? Like Westeros.
I don't know, what is the Song of Ice and Fire forum called? I thought,
Westeros.org.
was it there? I don't know. There was a forum which was not the Second Apocalypse forum, and I thought it was this Song of Ice and Fire forum, which was most of the discussion at the
Interesting.
beginning was, and I think he posted there too, discussing with other people.
Oh,
I'm wondering, like, could he feel like? Do you think it's possible or likely that he actively, like, one, is listening to this, but two, has listened to other? You know, I mean, I'm sure there are other people talking about this series right now.
From what I know,
you know?
I think from when
Or-
he stopped, like 5 or 6 years ago, when he went back, I don't know, into, like, after the last post in his blog post, it seems like he went into, not retirement, but like seclusion, sort of. And from what I've heard and what his brother is
can't
saying, he
believe
doesn't
he-
keep, up to date with what other people are saying about his stuff.
He really wrote Akamian's character arc and was like, I'm going to do that. I'm living it out. I'm going to become that hermit.
it
And he
disappeared
will
for 20 years.
return.
In 20 years.
Once he's a wizened old man with a scraggly gray beard, he'll return for one final mission. I'm willing it.
It'll be
I'm talking
cool.
it into existence. Although I don't have to wait that long, but you know.
I emailed
Did
him.
you?
See.
Saying what?
Yeah. I'll never hear back, but I just groveled. I just invited him to come and talk to us, but I don't think he's really checking his emails. I don't think he really
You never
cares.
know.
I mean, I'm sure he gets 100 of those a day. So, but you never know. I mean, Alan Moore responded to me, so anything is possible, right?
That's very cool. Yeah.
He was very polite.
I feel like he either is intentionally just avoiding all. I mean, that's clearly what he's doing, right? Like Bakker, whether he reads it or not, he's definitely avoiding interviews because he just doesn't give them anymore.
Yeah.
Which I'm sad because I would love to
It
talk
just
to him.
feels to me like somewhat of a burnout or something. That's what it feels to me. But
Right.
okay, I'm not gonna
Understandable.
say that's true.
No, I mean, I think it's a very normal, to get tired of the internet and having people, particularly, with a series like this where I know has caught a lot of heat. I think I can imagine that would be exhausting. At a certain point, you're just like, no more, and I don't blame him for that. But I am sad about it because I would love to discuss any number of things with him. I'm certainly going to go, down the rabbit hole, reading interviews.
I don't
when
think
we're
I
done with
would
the
be
series.
at the level. Every time I read some of his posts, I'm like, I don't understand this. I read the whole book. I read so many theories. He's like, they're mostly philosophy, and I don't get it. It's too complicated for me, at least for now.
You need to go get a PhD in philosophy, and then maybe you can engage with him.
Yeah, it's quite, because you read the books and you're like, okay, there's first level what happened, second level first interpretation, and then you go like deeper, like what's the act, like the metaphysics and what the author is trying to say in his theory, right? I don't know. There's like the 3-pound brain or something. There's a bunch of terms he uses in his philosophy discussions, which I'm like, I don't understand. So, but yeah, there's a lot of material for sure.
There's a lot.
Smart dude.
Maybe.
Yeah. All right, Dagliash, shall we?
So, well, in Disturbance, I was really confused. We were talking on the forum, and Dan and I were talking about, I was confused with Sorwheel. And he talks about how he knows that what he's done can't be undone. I was really confused about that because I wondered what exactly did he do, or what did he set into motion that couldn't be undone?
Releasing the tall?
Yeah.
When was this?
It was toward like well, he also sees his mother too.
But yeah.
So I wonder what significance that
I'm looking
had.
at it again. It's like knowing it could not be undone. That's like Vitol saying, like, because Vitol looks at Sorwheel, and Sorwheel's like, all he sees the horror in his face and the anguish, and his face showing that Vitol knows that what he's done cannot be undone, like him killing his son. Right. So it's like describing the anguish on the, Vitol's face, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a third person, he, not the Sorwheel's POV.
Yeah, but that whole sequence is very confusing.
Also, are we supposed to understand that the helmet, the invisible helmet that is maybe also visible, the possession, the non-man possession, that he's had that this entire time since he had the yacht shit put on his face? Or did that just become a thing when he came into Inchoroi?
They put it on when he got to Starbin. Right?
Okay.
The non-men.
Who put it on?
No, the non-men. Yeah, so he could understand non-men culture and talk to them, because otherwise they speak a different language. Right?
I completely missed when they did that. I got when it was pointed out to him, but who did that?
No, just the non-men.
I don't think we actually saw them do it. He just woke up in his terebinth and he had the thing on his head.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Weird.
I think they need something to know his culture without having to explain 1,000 things, I guess.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's a cool way to do it. In fantasy, you can do crap like that. That's why I love fantasy. And it's certainly done in a way that is creepy and upsetting.
Yeah. Do they say something like, oh, don't look at yourself in like a mirror or something, because then like the brain is like, well, what am I seeing? It goes to short circuit or something, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Because he does. He looks at himself in Oineral's shiny shield and does not see his own face.
So weird.
It freaks him out.
Does the server then... How does server recognize him though? Does she see through the helm, or is it just that the non-men, only the non-men can see the... Why can't I make sentences? How was Serva able to recognize Sorwheel is the question. Like, why didn't she see the non-man armor that he was wearing?
Recognize the non-men? Which non-men?
She recognized Sorwheel for who he is without...
Vitol takes the helmet off of him. I think it says something like he breaks his soul or something like that. It's described as if also almost like he kills him, but that's because he takes like the soul of inside the helmet away from him. So part of him is like almost taken away.
Interesting.
Just reading that. The Lord of the Watch, who had ceded all sanity to the Dolor so long ago, hoisted the son of Harwill's slack and then wrenched him in two. So I thought he killed him, but...
Yeah. Oh, so that's what was happening.
Yeah, I thought he like literally tore him.
Yeah. It's an interesting way of putting it. But yeah, it makes sense because I guess his soul was sort of fused, like, right? It was discussed before how it's like not clear exactly what's going on, like, because it's not like he has another. It's very weird the way it interacts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And does Oinerol tell him that you're never going to be the same again? This is it for you. You are from now on and forever two people in one.
Sort of.
Apparently not.
But I mean, it does say Sorwell does
Apparently-
reflect sort of like, oh, that's where like the young Sorwell dies, because now he will never have the same perspective anymore. Now that he saw himself from the non-man perspective.
Right.
Yeah. And that,
Which Sorwell thinks too. He's like, this is it. This is the death of, the child. Which certainly read as not just like the the boy in him, but like the human in him. And on some level, he's had a foundational shift in his perspective.
I feel like we've known Serwa is powerful, but there's a couple of references about her being the payload, the dreaded payload or something like that, and then at the end, she's saying, "Made demonstration of her father's dread portion."
Yeah.
She's pretty powerful. So did he put her in this position purposefully because he knew what would happen? It seems like a big gamble.
Kellis. I feel like the answer is yes, but it definitely is a big gamble.
I guess Serwa thinks that Kalos sent them there so that they would be able, because she thinks that Kalos knows that they're traitors, so she thinks that he sent them there so she could kill them pretty much, like get close to them. But I guess because then she says, right, something like, oh, they didn't, they knew what was going on. They put like not a bandage, like a thing on her mouth so she couldn't speak, right? And she said, oh fuck, so fucked. It's never going to happen, right? I guess that's what's happening, but we don't know if it's really what Kalos thinks, right? This is just what Serwa thinks, right?
Yeah, it's what Serwa thinks Kellis wants from her. The scene where they tell her, oh, I'm going to make you stop singing, I thought they were going to cut her tongue off or something vicious like that, but they didn't. They just covered her mouth. Really? That's all they did?
Too nice.
And you're going to tell me they are evil. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I mean, they did bad stuff to her brother.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked her moment of her mother's inheritance where she felt bad for
I mean, she did have like a human like part in this chapter, right? He's like literally crying and she's like, oh, what did I do to my brother? Like that's a real human emotion, right?
Yeah.
She definitely was very humanized, and I feel like her last couple chapters, she's definitely more sympathetic than she used to be. I really thought she was very, I mean, she is quite cold, very Dunyan, but more human than Kellis, certainly.
Yeah. There was one more thing about Sorville that I wanted to bring up. So, Sorville's chapters have been very introspective and a lot of like philosophical-ish musings, but the Ishterabin chapters didn't have a lot of that, and in this one in particular, whenever Sorville did the thinking, it was referenced as the youth thought this and the youth thought that. So are we to think that the Inchoroi is the guy whose soul is now possessing Sorville? He's doing the primary thinking and Sorville is sort of background. So whenever some of Sorville's own thoughts creep forward, it's the youth thought this and the youth thought that, but the main POV is actually that of the non-man.
I thought they were kind of melted
I'm trying
together,
to
like kind of a bit indistinguishable. But I don't know. It's a good point.
They were, but also like there was the differentiator with the youth, the youth. So like that's Sorwheel's own thoughts, and then maybe the rest of it is sort of Sorwheel feeling what the non-man is feeling and expressing that or whatever. But yeah,
I feel like it was maybe an imperfect melding because I do think there was a degree of melding. You know, I mean, there has to be, right, to have Sorwheel's changed perspective, but certainly there were times where it felt like one of them or the other was thinking, and not the totality of them.
yeah.
I'm not sure if there's a clear line, honestly. I think it may be intentionally blurred. The consciousness, I mean, because that I think is one of the big questions this series asks on like a very like deeper kind of arguably subtextual level, more even than the hard text itself, is the nature of consciousness definitely seems to be something Bakker is concerned with here. And what is consciousness, and how do you define it, and like what do you do when you have where are the edges, right? And with all these powers at play, particularly with the gods interfering, and philosophical ideas like the darkness that comes before, it definitely blurs the lines about like where I end and the world begins, if that makes any sense. And I think you're seeing another version of that, an increasing layer of that sort of exploration here.
Yeah. But by the way, something I just remembered that I wanted to discuss is I read some comments of some people, and this is fine to discuss because this was in the forum from when the books were coming out. So this is, with no future knowledge. But it was saying, because a couple of times ago we were discussing about like the place called Kellis, right? And I think there's some mentions of it today in this one.
Oh,
I think someone was saying that it's something to do with like, because we know that like, for example, the gods are the outside, right? Time doesn't really work the same way. But if you're a place, the place is always there. So it's kind of like saying, oh, he's immutable. And it's not, he's not like a person living and, bound by the laws of causality, like something happens before or after, or something like that. He's just a place which is the same before and after. It's a location you go to, not a time, not a person, not a, right? Just like we saw like with Saubon and himself in Plane of Mangetta, right? It happened way before, but it's like time doesn't work the same as locations, right? And the outside. So I think you were saying kind of like that, and I was like, oh, it kind of makes sense, I guess.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
And I think that is itself philosophically flawed, and I think Bakker is aware of that, in that Kellis, like even places aren't there forever, places change and places are destroyed, and how do we define place? Like, are we talking about a particular location? Like the Earth is constantly moving through space, right? So anyway, I don't want to get in the weeds here, but I think Kellis is a little bit full of himself.
a little bit.
That said, certainly it is in some ways an apt metaphor for how he is kind of beyond humans in some sense. I think at his core he's not, but he certainly is much better at influencing
Cayuta says that, right? Yeah, it's from the description. Okay, that's what I remember. Yeah, because Cayuta discusses this, right? He says his father is not a person, right? He's not, because he's not bound. He's not like, he just reacts to the universe, but he doesn't make any decisions, right? He doesn't have what makes a person, right? He's like a location. He says that exactly, right?
I maintain that the greatest con Kellis ever pulled was convincing all these people that he is a separate species from them. I think he is obviously distinguished in some ways, but as I've argued, not only about the darkness that comes before in the Dunyan, I mean, I just think like, as far as we know, Kellis can die. And we've been led in this entire quartet, that we're now finishing up book 3, to believe that he is going to die. And that is, in my mind, one of the most defining characteristics of being a human being. You know what I mean? And so I think that is the great con of his character. And it's a con he's even pulled on himself. I think it's the great lie that he's convinced himself, and is maybe one of the defining things that could define his madness, as Moingus calls it. Although I don't, it is in some sense shared by all the Dunyan, I think. Certainly influenced by their view of themselves as beyond humanity, or like a higher form of humanity. At the same time, of course, Kellis is in some way improved in that he's like physically enhanced through eugenics.
So do you think Kellis is on a suicide mission?
I don't know that he knows he's going to die. Maybe he does. I don't. That's actually really unclear to me at this point.
Because it seems clear, I think, by now that he's not too concerned about what happens to the Empire. Like, he's kind of like,
yes, yeah.
Whatever happens. Let the chips fall where they may. So is he worried about what will happen after, or is he just focused on what he's doing?
I feel like he has to be. Like, one of his defining, it was made a big deal in the first trilogy that he looked past the Holy War. That everyone else just thought about the Holy War, just thought about Shime, and they didn't think past it, and he did. And, as psychologically strange as that is, like, thematically, it's quite potent in that it's clearly saying that, like, Kellis is always thinking beyond. He's always thinking more than everyone else around him. So I do feel like he has to be thinking about. What's unclear to me is what he thinks is going to happen at Golgotharoth and afterwards. He has to believe they can succeed.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he wouldn't be doing this, right? Like, I just don't believe he would. If he thought this was truly hopeless, he would not. He would logic himself into being like, okay, I'm not going to do anything, or fuck it, I'll join the console.
There's like only 10% chance that it works, but it's the only way I can see it. Maybe.
Right, exactly. I mean, he has to believe that there's enough of a possibility. But I don't know. And we just haven't been his perspective. I don't know if he thinks it's a suicide mission. Maybe that would be in some sense very selfless of him if he does think he's walking to his death, but is going to do it for the good of humanity. I'm not convinced of that because he doesn't seem to be that moral, but, maybe. I mean, maybe I don't know what drives him. That's one of the great mysteries of Kellis, is like, what is his darkness that comes before? Why does he do the things he does? He's not trying to achieve the absolute anymore. Or if he is, he's taking a really roundabout way to the absolute. Like, I definitely feel like waging multiple holy wars is not the way to do it. But
what do we know?
This guy's playing 4D chess with gods. So I don't know. I definitely think he is aware, of the forces working against him, that he is conscious of all of those things. He maybe doesn't know the details of what they're doing, but he is, like, I think he has contingencies in place. And this guy apparently knew about this nuke, which is insane.
Yeah, the nuke is I don't know.
How does he even know what that is?
I'm sure
like,
he read some ancient
he...
texts or something that other people didn't interpret correctly. He's like, wait a second.
Yeah. They described the nuke in metaphor, like Bakker, and he was like, wait, I understand this metaphor. The tentacles is talking about the smoke, the destruction.
Maybe, but it's pretty cool, I think.
It is cool. Randomly dropping
especially
a nuke in a story.
You're like,
that goes
where
hard.
is this coming from? Kind of. Right?
Right. And it makes sense, right? Because we know they have weird sci-fi technology. So yeah, why wouldn't they have atomics?
Yeah, the whole chapter is quite... I mean, I guess like 90% of the chapter is like the battle, I guess. lot of spiritual battle, Barsha must have been a bit annoyed. No, a bit bored. But,
A lot of battle.
I think these two. I was also in a bit of a mood this weekend, so I don't know how much to attribute to that. But these two are possibly the two most boring chapters I've read in this series so far.
wow.
Oh wow!
It is, yeah, it's a lot.
I didn't feel that necessarily, but I will say the battle, Dagliash in particular, I like. There were definitely moments where my eyes kind of glazed over. You know, it's just hard to
Yeah.
follow some of it and to invest emotionally for me. But it was epic, and there were parts that I loved. Like everything with Saubon, I thought was awesome. All of that stuff. I can't believe I'm like invested in his character and sad that he died. You know, the end of his story. My jaw. I mean, okay, well, I walked us into this now. We have to talk about Saubon. When we found out that like it goes full circle to that scene in The Warrior Prophet, that was insane. It took me a second. I was like reading. I was like, Sandy Hair. Like, who is he seen? And he says Mengeta. I'm like, Mengeta. Wasn't that the place where they were like on the port of hell?
Yeah.
And then it all clicked, and I was like, holy shit. Right before I read the line where he was like, that's me, I was like, that is unreal. And I read that passage like multiple times. That was crazy.
Wait, so what the hell happened? Did the nuke make him travel back in time? What was it?
It's
Is
his
it a
ghost.
consult?
He's in hell. The demons hadn't gotten him yet. But because Mengeta is like, it's one of those, I forget what the term for them is, but it's like, I had to think about this too, right? But it's like on the borders of hell, right? Hell leaks through. So he, in that moment, through whatever magical connection, saw himself at his moment of death when he first appears in hell. And it ends with the demons.
And remember, the outside time doesn't work the same, so each portal to hell is like at the same time, all the time. Yeah.
All at the same time. Yeah. That was crazy. No, I had to think about it, Varsha. I was like, what? How does this work? What's going on? But it is totally... It makes sense, like within this universe.
And here's the realization of a betrayal, and it's like heading towards eternal damnation. It's so fucked up.
I can't imagine going back now and reading that first trilogy. I mean, that's got to be one of those big moments where you're just like, oh my god, like he'd been thinking about this the entire time. That is insane.
And damnation, in spite of everything. After all this time, he's been doing all these things to avoid it. Here he is. That's fucked up, isn't it?
Oh, Varsha, you're muted.
Varsha, you're muted.
Sorry, I was saying technically he's not been like worshipping anything. He's just been going after power and whatnot.
Discussing this whole time, like, okay, I know he's not real, but I know he's strong, so I know he's gonna, like, if I follow him, he's gonna, I guess, protect me or save me or whatever. And
he's delusional.
It's
just in a different way.
And I love how the whole thing that he says before, like, okay, not everybody can be saved, and it's a good thing. And I love how it's like he's talking about all the people getting nuked, but he's also talking to Saubon about what's going to happen to him, right? And it's
Yeah. That was interesting. So here since we're talking about damnation, and there are two bits that were interesting. One, when Serva was, we have one of those flashbacks. I don't know if this one was a flashback or if it was her continuing her imagined conversation with Kellis, but when she says, what if I fail? And he says, then, I don't remember his words, but he says something to the effect that everybody's doomed, so like we may as well forget about it. And the other bit was Caiutus and Proyas when they are talking. He says Kellis becomes whoever and whatever he needs to be, as long as it gets him towards his goal of salvation, which I think that's the first we've heard that in the context of what it is Kellis is trying to do. So he is apparently trying to... So it seems from that exchange between Serva and Kellis that there was some sincerity to his wanting to not have people be damned, or like I don't know if it's restricted to his followers or just to save the world from damnation. That seems to be a legitimate goal of his. But also, and apparently he wants salvation, which, again, what does that mean? Is it the
Going to one of the
salvation
heavens.
the way the non-men want? Do they want to, like, whoosh past the outside and go whatever is beyond the outside?
I mean, apparently there are heavens. They apparently exist.
But are those still in the outside? Because the way the non-man puts it is you get grabbed up in the outside to be the playthings of whatever gods. That could be heaven or hell. But you zoom past that and I guess you're lost in the void
Maybe
of
there's
space.
another
I don't know.
afterlife with the god of gods or something, right?
But the non-men don't worship
But
the
I mean,
god
the god
of
of
gods.
gods is like nature.
I mean, talking about-
right.
Fair. Yeah.
I mean, oblivion is just oblivion. It's like, it's like the atheistic belief of like, you go on and your cells continue, but like, there's no soul that like goes into an afterlife. It's just, you're just done. Like there's no consciousness anymore. But yeah, heaven, I mean, I don't, it seems to exist in some form, but I don't know how it, how pleasant it is. I mean, it must be decent. Otherwise, it's not really heaven, but, or a heaven. Because there does seem to be multiple options tied to each god, but just like there are multiple hells. But yeah, talking about delusional, Kellis is delusional as well. Like, I can't believe he thinks he's actually helping save people.
I don't know.
He just clearly doesn't seem to understand how the outside works, Like, he has been fooled, or he has fooled himself.
Well, we can't save everyone.
Maybe this is
Right?
right. I mean, yes. He certainly has no bad feeling about that. But, like, who does he... I mean, again, we don't... Is he just trying to save himself? Does he genuinely believe that he in some way is going to, like, rewrite reality? Like, what does he think is going to happen here? I think there is something to be said for the nobility of trying to stop the consult once and for all, but what does he on a metaphysical level think is going to happen? Like, what does he actually believe? Because it seems like he believes something, but I do think we'll find out to some degree in the next book. I feel like that's one of those answers that Bakker has to give us, but maybe I'll be disappointed. I don't know. I still haven't gotten the Heron
I don't think
Spear.
you'll be disappointed. I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
Varsha got my hopes up. I hadn't even thought the nuke. She was like, "The nuke is the Heron Spear." I was like, "What?"
I mean, I didn't... Okay, look, my eyes glazed
Yeah.
over through a lot of the chapter. And I remembered the box. I remembered what was written on it. I didn't remember the thing inside being unleashed. I actually didn't register that. If I had, maybe I wouldn't have gotten your hopes up. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I didn't register it either. I as I said earlier, I
Again,
had
we
no
just
idea what was
know
going on
the
there.
before and the after. It doesn't tell us what happens in the middle, right?
Right.
I guess, well, we know the Heron Spear is like a laser, right? Yeah, we know that. Because I was like, maybe they
Yes.
nuked the
Yeah.
no god.
Yeah, and now this is making me wonder what the Heron Spear is. What technical artifact, what abomination from our world the Heron Spear is.
I mean, yeah, that's something interesting that I stupidly hadn't really thought about, which is like, why is it that the Heron Spear can kill the no god? Like, what is it, as you were saying, Varsha? Like, literally, what is it? We know it's some sort of laser weapon, but like, what? What does that mean? Why is that effective on the no god? You would normally think, okay, if like a laser sword or a laser blaster, whatever it is, can kill the no god, then so could like a sword through the chest or something. You know what I mean? But like, what? It must work differently, right? Like, it
I mean,
must
he's
have
in
some
a
special
whirlwind
properties.
floating in the sky, so I don't know how you get the sword there, but maybe.
I mean, fair enough. But yeah, so are we supposed... my understanding was that they, like, stabbed him with the Heron Spear, but did they just, like, snipe him with it? Like...
Pointed at him in the general direction.
Yeah, just go... "Ah!"
They got him from the top. They flew up
I
there
guess
to
we
the
don't have a
wall.
description,
Anyway,
yeah,
I
exactly
don't
of
know.
what. Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, we literally, yeah, we don't know. Like, how did that work?
Mm.
All the memories stop at that point. Like, we don't. They're always like afterwards or right before. As you were saying about the writing, Dan, we never see the moment. How was the no god killed? Was the no god even killed, or were they just? I mean, something happened.
It's a good
clearly.
point, yeah, because the no god
They
is still
closed
there.
the box.
So I guess it's not
Right.
killed, right?
Did they just shut the box from which he came? Like, did they close Pandora's box and now they could open it again? But what does the Heron Spear have to do with that?
I mean, it definitely is a kind of Pandora box situation. That's interesting, but yeah, I don't know. It's the key. Is it like you're like turning a lock? Like, I don't know. Why is the no god senile? We've been wondering that since book one.
Another thing that I took away from these chapters is the descriptions of the arc fall, how it changed everything. I think like it's like an extinction level event, and
Yeah.
it mentions it before, but I think it goes into more detail now with how much it changed everything. Everything changed after that. It's such a dramatic event that like made mountains, and it destroyed. It just changed the whole world.
Do you think they intentionally did that, or did they crash land?
Good point.
Like I had always assumed, I knew it was destructive, but I had always assumed that they were like had a softer landing, right? Because it's a spaceship seemingly, but maybe they crashed. I mean, clearly they came with a plan.
I mean, the
but,
explosion
you know,
happened before the
any number
arc
of
got there, I guess.
the gods shot them out of the
Maybe.
sky. I don't know. Zeus threw a lightning bolt. He said, "No, no, no."
Wait, so the thing that the non-man described, or I don't know who described it at this point, but the arrival of the ark apparently tore a hole through the mountain.
Hmm.
It,
Like a crack, right? Yeah.
and that
okay.
is no, right. So was it? Oh, okay. So when I was reading that description, I thought the ark did that, like it bored the hole through. So was it just the impact that did that?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was like an earthquake.
Oh, okay, makes sense. Yeah, I was laughing earlier, Steve, because I was thinking everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked.
I'm not wondering, like, how many continents are on this planet? What's going on? Is there stuff going on the rest of the planet? Like, we know there's at least one other continent that we haven't seen, right? That
The men came
the
from.
earwinds.
Yeah. Well, we know there's also
came
the
from.
south, which is vaguely mentioned a couple of times, but it doesn't say what's going on there.
It's so interesting. Like, is there a new world? You know, like it's so interesting how much is still up in the air potentially.
Who knows? Like, does everyone have to deal with the shrunk? But I guess they can't all be dealing with the apocalypse, because I'm sure people never in, I don't know, Anne or something, they don't know what's going on here. Right?
Yeah, is there a whole nother whole nother continent where it's just like, you know, human beings just living, I mean, probably terribly, but like, you know, living alone without dealing with
I mean, we know that not
bullshit
all the tribes
in
crossed across,
there.
right? So some stayed behind. And I guess
Right.
a lot of it, civilization, the advancement came because the non-men taught the humans how to. So probably, yeah, they're like, I don't know if they're savages, but like nomads and hunter-gatherers or something, right? Seems
Well, they may have still advanced,
much
but
slower,
not,
I guess.
yeah, not at the same speed, certainly. Interesting thoughts.
Who knows?
Any other thoughts about Dagliash?
I mean, the
feel
whole,
like I've raved about the things.
like the whole Great Ordeal becoming shrunk, pretty much. That also happened.
Yeah, I mean, that was not a surprise. I got to be honest. It was horrifying, but it was not a surprise. That's been built up to this entire book. I mean, totally earned. We were watching it just slowly happen. You're like, yep, that
I mean, it's
what's
pretty
gonna
kind of
happen
funny,
there.
like Proyas, like saying, "Oh, stay in the lines," and it's kind of like when everybody leaves him, and he's like standing there. It's like, what the fuck? I guess I'll follow.
Are we left with like a cliffhanger with him, right? Like we don't know what
He
happened.
got
to him
nuked, maybe. Who
with the
knows?
nuke and everything.
I guess
right?
he was possibly more further away than the other ones. I guess because we know he was following, right? But
He's got to
Yeah.
survive. Baker's gonna give us his like. We got to have some sort of resolution. I would be shocked if the next book opens up and it's just like, oh, there's a corpse and that used to be Proyas.
I don't think you can imagine
I'm
what's
sure
going to
we'll
happen with Proyas.
You'd
I love
never
it.
predict
It's
My
impossible.
boy, my tortured zealot boy.
Yeah.
Oh. So
Oh,
on
no.
that topic, I'm curious. I want to ask the first time readers for predictions for the end of this book,
Ooh.
because we have the rest of the book left. So, what do you predict will happen or want to happen?
I'm gonna defer to Carl because I know the name of the third series, which
I do too.
oh, okay, and I accidentally on purpose read the last paragraph.
The last paragraph of the whole
Okay.
series.
It was a mistake. It was an honest mistake.
How
I know
many
I do
times are you
that a lot.
How
That is
how
not
is that a
a,
mistake?
But
that's not an
this-
honest
You had to
mistake.
turn.
I was
You had
trying.
to turn to the page.
I was
and
trying
look at it.
to find where the appendix was in the
It's-
fourth
You're
book.
insane. But you read the whole paragraph. It wasn't like you
I
stopped.
can't believe you
It was
don't
like
know what
2
you were
lines.
doing. I can't believe. You must.
No,
I
you're
honestly
lying.
didn't. That time I honestly didn't. See, when I want to spoil myself, I don't read the last paragraphs of things. I read in between. I like generally scroll and find random passages that my eyes snag on. This one was an honest mistake.
I mean,
So-
listen, I had one major spoiler spoiled for me of the end of the series way back. I mean, I don't know. That was multiple books ago that I just stumbled across on the internet. I think it was on Reddit. But most of the stuff I don't know.
Is it a
It was major, I will say, and I'm not going to say it for that reason.
okay? It's not happened yet.
No,
Okay.
this is like very in game. One thing.
You're the last.
I had one thing.
I think you probably both know the same thing, but I can guarantee whatever both of you know, Varsha, I know what you know, but I can guarantee whatever it is you both know, there's still a ton.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure even if you read the last chapter, it doesn't tell. I just checked it now. It does not really tell everything.
I could never guess the survivor, right? Like that in my wildest imaginations, I was not going to theorize that Kellis had another kid,
Yeah,
and we were going to meet him, and he would look like.
But
the
even
Hound,
the end,
you
like,
know?
without the context, it doesn't. It's not the same. I'm pretty sure you don't know the context, so yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind, like you guys know this already, but I don't mind spoilers because sometimes knowing things ahead of time enhances my reading of it. So it's all good. But Carl,
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Comes out of our.
I mean, you can give predictions on what are your predictions on what's going to happen after the nuke? What do you think is going to happen to the Great Ordeal and their whole thing? What are they going to do?
Well, they will be much smaller in number. I mean, they're gonna make it to Golgotha. Like they got to go there. Like they have to reach it. You know, just narratively that makes sense. They got to go for the rest of the story to happen. But beyond that, I don't know. I mean, I feel confident they're gonna have a confrontation with the Inchoroi, and I guess the weird consult old multiple-faced dude is still alive, seemingly, who we just got introduced to in this book. So I think it's possible that, at the very least, he and maybe multiple consult members are some sort of technological monstrosity and are alive, and we'll see them, and there will be big epic fights, and something will happen. I really don't know what's going to go with the Survivor and Akamian and Mimara. That is a huge question mark. I really don't know how they fit into everything. Like the rest of the storyline, I feel pretty confident Esmenet is going to die. I don't think she comes out of this series alive. I think we're watching her gradual fall, and she in some ways peaked at the end of last book. I do think the Empire is going to fall. In my mind, if we're looking at historical parallels, this does kind of feel like the fall of Byzantium. And so I do think that we're going to see, I do think the Kyanine are going to come out on top here. I don't know if that's how she's going to, I kind of suspect she's going to survive the fall of Momin, but is going to, go on the run or something and is going to die, some way. A big question mark for me with her storyline and Kelmomus and all of that is that going to tie in to the big final battle that is definitely coming, or is that going to be a separate thing? I kind of feel like Akamian and Esmenet, I want them to meet one more time. I don't know if they will, but I just don't know how she would cross that much territory.
Yeah, it's so fun hearing you guys think about it. You guys are not ready for what's gonna happen. You don't know what's gonna happen. Like you really don't know what's gonna happen. It's gonna be very fun, I think. Right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Proyas I think is doomed. I think Sorwheel is doomed, but I think Sorwheel may die killing Kellis. I've kind of felt. I mean, that almost feels too obvious. But that may just be we're just building up to that happening. Like that may be something that okay, we're told that's going to happen, and it just does. I mean, there's so many question marks for me. Again, like the Survivor, I can't even begin to imagine where that goes. Maybe the Survivor lives up to his name and survives the whole thing. I really feel like Akamian is going to survive it all, just because it seems like that's kind of his lot in life, is to just live despite all the terrible things that happen to him. I just don't know what he's going to do next. Like, is he going to go and try to stop Kellis? What are they going to do? That's really unclear to me, and I think the rest of this book will clarify where his story is going in some ways, at least where it, the direction it's headed in. I do think he will ultimately intersect with Kellis. I just don't know what he's going to do, what part he'll play. It's tough too, because even looking at the first trilogy, there's a lot I wouldn't have predicted. I would not have thought that Akamian and Esmenet would spend a majority of the last battle having sex. That's just not something I would have predicted. So it's I'm expecting something like that. I just really hope Akamian and Mimara don't just bone for the entire final battle. That would suck. Her baby is not going to come out okay. Her baby's going to die. I don't know if she's going to miscarry or she's going to birth it and then something happens. But that's how the judging eye works, right? Or are we supposed to believe that she already had a miscarriage and that is what gave her the judging eye? I don't know.
I think it's forever, but I'm not.
But
don't quote me.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, she's someone I could see surviving, actually. I think either her or Esmenet survive. And if I had to bet money, I would say Mimara survives and Esmenet dies. This series is so tragic and bleak that I don't think... It's not even cathartic like some tragedies are, where it's I don't think she is ever going to get a make up with her mom. I feel like they're not going to get their proper cathartic ending. Same with Akamian and Esmenet. I just don't think... Anytime Bakker seems to give us a moment where that could happen, he then robs us of it. And so I feel like if anything like that happens, there will be something that tears them apart before one of them dies, or right before they're about to see each other. That'll be my theory. Right before Esmenet is about to re-encounter Mimara and Akamian, she's going to get killed. That's my big theory. What are your thoughts, Varsha? Without talking about the thing you spoiled for yourself.
I actually, yeah. I don't know. I don't have predictions so much as just questions or threads that I'm primarily interested in, I suppose. I think I have two bits that I'd like to know. One, I was promised a lot more of the metaphysics and the cosmology in the second series. I feel like we're getting some of that in Ishterabin. I would like a lot more because it again, like, this was probably me more than the chapters themselves, but I had to slog through the two chapters that we read for today's episode, and the bits that stood out were all the discussions between Sorville and the other guy, where they were talking about the history of the non-men and how the Inchoroi came to the planet and so on. I would like more of that. I want to know more about the Nail of Heaven and whatnot. And the thing I'm curious about, that I have no idea remotely, I can maybe see, I guess, Akamian and Memara are probably headed towards merging with the Great Ordeal one way or another, and I don't know what that merging will bring about, what the purpose is. I have no idea. I'm not even going to try to guess. But what I don't understand is where Esmeneth's thread is going, because so far, all that's telling us is, hey, look, here's what's happening meanwhile to a character that you knew before. Like, that's all. There doesn't seem to be any connection to the Great Ordeal, or like, you could so far cut Esmeneth's thread, and I feel like the amount the story would have progressed would be the same. I think.
Right. It's got to intersect for that reason, right? Like, there's got to be, because it is completely separate at this point. So, like, I mean, the White Luck Warrior is there. That's the big connecting thread. And so what... Anyway, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh, that makes sense. I'd forgotten. Thank you for that reminder. I had forgotten about the White Luck Warrior, and that makes sense. So, yeah, I guess I'm just curious to see how he brings those three things together, because so far each reads like its own thing with very little connection to the other two, and I'd like to see how those are all brought together.
Okay, let's do very quickly, before we wrap up, a Deadpool, Varsha. Of Kellis's kids, specifically, who do you think lives and who dies?
Oh, okay. Can I do a wish list and then a prediction list? Of course. For the wish list, for survivors, I want Teliopa and... Speaking of Teliopa, we have to talk about that, but let me finish answering your question first. But Teliopa and Serva, and maybe Moengus. I would like to get to know him a bit more. He's interesting. But that's my wish list. And of course, sorry, the wish list, I want Kelmomus to die. I don't care about the others very much.
Cayutas,
Well, who's left? Just Cayutas was left, right?
Cayutas,
I don't care. I don't care what happens to him.
I kind of feel similarly. I'm not that invested in him one way or another. I do think he's going to die. I almost feel like he'll die relatively early on. Like, I feel like he'll be one of the first big deaths. Moengus I could see going either way. Surwa, I just feel like she's doomed. Peliopa I could see going either way. Kelmomus I feel pretty confident is doomed.
Yeah.
And I do think, I mean, that's my final theory I'll say, is I think Esmeneth she has to figure out, like, just dramatically, she has to figure out his deal before she dies. Assuming she dies.
Maybe she has to kill Kelmomus.
Yeah. I mean, either way.
That would be so tragic.
That would be crazy, actually. That would be tragic.
Oh, that would be
I don't know
horrible.
that she has that in her, to be honest.
I don't want that for her. I do not. There is a Hindi movie that does that, except it's with husband instead of child, but still, I do not want that.
Child is definitely even more fucked up. Like, that's probably the peak of terrible, you know? Like the absolute worst version of that is like you birth, the Antichrist, and as a baby you decide you have to kill it, like infanticide. But beyond that, just killing a child in general that's the most.
I mean, they did
terrible
brown
thing
and
you can
wine
imagine.
is other deformed children, which I guess were alive, right? So
Yeah. Now I'm reading Roman history right now.
Oh,
There's a
yeah.
lot of infanticide. Really, people used to be really cool with just tossing kids out, leaving them on a mountain to die, bashing their heads against walls.
Jeez.
Not pleasant. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, now I feel bad for some parts of Olaf Stapleton's book that we discussed last time. That I was like, what the hell is he on about?
No.
Far future airships, and they throw infants into the ships.
Oh my God.
If they survive, cool. We got the stronger genes.
That's
I
crazy.
mean, not to say like,
Wow.
but
That's-
it's like that stuff happens like these days too. It's not like the Romans just did it. It's like,
Yeah. No, it's true.
I mean, Bakker would probably
Anyway.
do. I don't think Bakker would not do something like that if he thinks was good for the story. So
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's not a line. No, I don't know that Bakker has any lines.
Really?
No, that he 100% would kill a baby, no problem.
Yeah, I mean, it's not Kelmomus we're worried about in this situation. It's what it'll do to
True.
Esmondette.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, at least not me. I don't care about Kelmomus. One way or the other, he's got to
little
go.
guy.
Well, okay. Taliopa. Apparently, she was the one who figured out the thing about father when Cayutis was talking about. I like the little joke he makes that you had the same realization she did, except minus the pretty wardrobe.
Oh yeah.
All right, we're running late, so do we want to do quick quotes and peace out?
Yeah. The only one I had was at page 361. Nothing blinds a man more to the future than what is past.
Nice.
Cool.
I like that.
That is a good quote.
I like the one about Sorville being dead. Sorry, that came out sounding horrible, but the last of the boy named Sorville was gone.
Mhm.
Any others? Okay, then let's do outros. Carl?
Yeah, my name is Carl D. Albert. I mean, I'll just tell you that's my socials. So find me, Carl D. Albert, on the internet.
Leaving your last name, telling your last
Damn.
name on the internet, so everyone knows where to find you. So brave.
It is scary, but unfortunately, that's the lot you place when you
But fair enough.
put a book out there or pursue a career.
I guess
Yeah.
I'm Dan. I'm not going to tell you my last name, but you can find me at DNFire17 on Page 2 Forum.
And I'm Steve. You can catch me on pagedoing.com or other fine podcasts such as speculative speculations. Be sure and listen to that and come by and say hello.
Yes, and you can find me on the YouTube channel Reading by the Rainy Mountain, on the podcast Speculative Speculations, and Haunting the Picturing Forums. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week with the end of The Great Ordeal. Not quite, like the end of this book. We'll see you soon. Bye.